The sleek Confederation diplomatic vessel glided into Earth's orbit with barely a ripple in the planet's detection systems. Captain Taeyong Park stood at attention as the alien delegation emerged from their ship, his uniform crisp despite the sweltering Washington, D.C. heat. "Welcome to Earth," he said, offering a formal bow. The lead diplomat, a being with iridescent scales and 4 arms, mimicked the gesture. "We are the Galactic Confederation. Your species has been observed and deemed ready for introduction to interstellar society." Over the following weeks, humans learned they were considered a Category 3 species, intelligent but technologically underdeveloped. What fascinated the alien scientists most was humanity's emotional range. "Your anger response is concerning," noted Dr. Ju Kim, the human neurologist assigned to explain human physiology. "What do you mean?" The alien researcher, Vox, displayed brain scans comparing humans to other species. "When threatened, your brain chemistry changes dramatically. No other known species experiences this override of rational thought." Dr. Kim smiled. "That's just being human." The meeting took place in a special facility built just for first contact. White walls, clean lines, and large windows that showed the blue sky outside. Dr. Kim had not expected to be here. She was supposed to be in her lab, studying brain patterns. Now she was explaining human emotions to beings from another world. Vox tilted his head. His skin shifted colors slightly, from blue to purple. "We have observed that humans can become extremely dangerous when angry. Your history shows this clearly." Dr. Kim nodded. "Yes, we can be dangerous. But anger also helps us protect each other. It gives us strength when we need it most." Captain Park watched from the corner. His job was security, but he found himself fascinated by the conversation. These aliens seemed so calm, so controlled. Did they not feel strong emotions? Did they not know the rush of adrenaline, the pounding heart of rage or fear? The Confederation team included 5 different species. All seemed concerned about human emotions. One of them, a tall being named Elo with skin like fog, asked, "What happens when all humans get angry at once?" Dr. Kim laughed. "That rarely happens. We are individuals. We feel differently about different things." But Captain Park thought about world wars, about nations rising up together. He stayed quiet. The aliens spent 3 months on Earth. They visited every continent, met with leaders, scientists, and ordinary people. They brought gifts of knowledge and technology. Small things at first: better solar cells, medicines for some diseases, more efficient batteries. They said more would come as humans proved themselves stable. That word bothered Captain Park. In private talks with Dr. Kim, he expressed his concerns. "They treat us like children," he said one evening as they sat in the facility's garden. "Like we might have a tantrum at any moment." Dr. Kim sipped her tea. "They fear what they don't understand. Their species evolved differently. They make decisions by consensus, not emotion." "Is that better?" Park asked. "Different," she replied. "Not better, not worse, just different." The Confederation finally revealed their true interest in humanity during the last week of their stay. They requested a meeting with military leaders from Earth's major powers. Captain Park was there, standing behind General Lee. Vox spoke for the aliens. "Your species has great potential. Your creativity, your adaptability, and yes, even your emotional responses mark you as unique. But your capacity for violence concerns us." He showed videos of human conflict, wars, fights, riots. Then he showed scans of human brains during these events. "When angered, your species can override pain, fear, even self-preservation. You can sustain conflict for years. You can hold grudges for generations. No other species we have encountered can maintain aggressive action for so long." General Lee leaned forward. "You're saying you're afraid of us?" Vox's skin rippled. "Caution is not fear, General. We merely wish to understand." The true revelation came next. Vox showed data about other species in the Confederation. Their anger responses were brief, quickly fading. Their conflicts resolved quickly or not at all. They did not have humanity's stamina for confrontation. In truth, Vox said, your emotional design makes you potentially the most formidable species we have encountered, despite your technological limitations. The room fell silent. Captain Park felt a strange mix of pride and worry. Humans were being told they were dangerous because they could get angry and stay angry. After the meeting, Dr. Kim found Captain Park on the facility's roof, watching the stars. They see us as bombs waiting to explode, he said. She stood beside him. They see us as we are, complex, passionate, sometimes dangerous. But they're still here, still talking. That means they see something worth knowing in us too. The next day, the Confederation offered humanity membership in their galactic community with conditions. Humans would be monitored. Human settlements beyond Earth would be limited. Human ships would carry Confederation observers. Reasonable precautions, Vox called them. World leaders debated for days. Some felt insulted by the restrictions. Others saw them as a small price for joining an advanced civilization. In the end, humanity accepted. The first human delegation would travel to Confederation space within the year. Captain Park would lead security. Dr. Kim would serve as cultural liaison. As the alien ship prepared to depart, Vox spoke privately to them. Your anger is not just a weakness, he said. It drives your art, your protection of each other, your persistence. We have much to learn from each other. Dr. Kim nodded. We're working on controlling our darker impulses. Perhaps, Vox said, his skin turning a thoughtful green. But remember this, the universe has many dangers. Someday, your capacity for righteous anger may prove more valuable than you know. The ship rose silently into the sky, becoming a bright star, then nothing. Captain Park and Dr. Kim stood watching long after it vanished. Do you think they're right to worry about us? She asked. Yes, he said simply. But I also think they're right to want us as allies. The stars seemed different now, knowing what was out there, knowing how humanity was seen. Not just explorers or discoverers, but warriors with the capacity to make the universe shiver. 5 years passed. Humanity expanded to nearby stars using Confederation technology. The colony on Proxima Centauri, named New Sol, flourished under Governor Gundon Lee. When the Vrex attack came, it was swift and devastating. They bypassed all defensive systems, reported Security Chief Juno Kang. Blood streaming from a head wound. Casualty estimates are in the thousands. Back on Earth, Defense Minister Jian Choi watched the footage with clenched fists. The Vrex, reptilian hunters who considered all other species prey, had slaughtered civilians methodically. The Confederation recommends a formal complaint, advised their representative. Minister Choi's voice was dangerously quiet. A complaint. They butchered our people. Throughout Earth, as the footage spread, a collective rage ignited. Military enlistments tripled overnight. The Confederation observed with growing alarm as humanity prepared for war with single-minded focus. Governor Lee stood in what remained of New Sol's main square. Buildings smoldered around him. Bodies lay where they had fallen. Medical teams worked without rest, but there were too many wounded. The air smelled of smoke and blood. We had no warning, Security Chief Kang said, his uniform torn and stained. A medic had bandaged his head, but he refused to go to the hospital. They came in looking like a normal trade ship. Governor Lee nodded. 5 years of peace had made them trust too easily. The Confederation had assured humanity that all member species followed strict codes of conduct. The Vrex, it seemed, did not care about codes. They took children, Kang added, his voice breaking. Hundreds of them. Loaded them onto ships before we could respond. Lee felt a cold rage settle in his chest. The Vrex were known as hunters, but the Confederation had insisted they only hunted non-sentient creatures. That was clearly a lie. On Earth, Minister Choi ended her call with the Confederation representative and looked around the emergency meeting room. The faces of Earth's defense leaders showed the same anger she felt. "They want us to file a complaint," she told them. "The Confederation will review it and decide on proper sanctions against the Vrex." General Doyen Quan slammed his fist on the table. "While they review, the Vrex will attack more colonies. They took our children." Admiral Yunji Han, usually the calmest voice in any room, spoke softly. "The Vrex must know the consequences of attacking humans. The Confederation's way is too slow." Within hours, Earth's governments united in a way they never had before. Old enemies put aside differences. Resources poured into the military. The orbital shipyards, built with Confederation help, began converting civilian ships to military use. The Confederation's observer, Mex, reported back to his superiors with growing concern. "Humans are organizing for war at an unprecedented rate. They are ignoring all protocols for conflict resolution." His superior, a high-ranking diplomat named Sol, responded, "Remind them that unauthorized military action violates their membership agreement." When Mex delivered this message to Minister Choi, she smiled without warmth. "Our agreement also stated that member species would be protected. Where was our protection when the Vrex came?" Across Earth, the footage from New Seoul played on every screen. Humans watched as Vrex soldiers gunned down families in the streets. They saw children being loaded onto ships, crying for parents who lay dead. The footage had been captured by the colony's security systems in the moments before they were destroyed. In homes and offices, in schools and public squares, humans watched. And humans rage. Captain Taeyong Park, now a colonel, led one of the first response teams to reach New Seoul. What he found hardened his heart. The Vrex had not just killed, they had hunted. They had turned the colony into a game preserve. They recorded it. He told Minister Choi over a secure channel. "We found their devices. They were keeping score." Minister Choi closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, they were cold. "How soon can we strike back?" 2 days, Colonel Park answered. "We've located 3 Vrex outposts near human space." Dr. Ju Kim, now Earth's chief liaison to the Confederation, tried to explain humanity's response to Vox, who had returned to Earth as a special envoy. "You must understand," she said. "They took our children. There is nothing that angers humans more." Vox's skin turned a troubled gray. "The Vrex claim the humans fired first. They say they acted in self-defense." Dr. Kim played the security footage. Vox watched in silence as the Vrex methodically executed colonists. "Does this look like self-defense?" she asked. Vox could not answer. In space, Earth's hastily assembled fleet prepared to depart. Ships that had been carrying colonists now carried soldiers. Vessels designed for science now held weapons. The Confederation had limited human military technology, but humans were creative. They adapted what they had. Admiral Han addressed the fleet from her flagship, the ESS Vengeance. "The Vrex believe we are weak. They believe the Confederation's rules will protect them from consequences. They are wrong." Throughout the ships, men and women checked weapons and reviewed plans. Many had family on New Seoul. All had seen the footage. Their anger had not cooled. It had focused into determination. On Proxima Centauri, the survivors of New Seoul worked to rebuild. Governor Lee refused evacuation. "This is our home," he told Colonel Park. "We will not be driven away." Park noticed something unusual as he helped with rescue efforts. The survivors did not speak of revenge. They did not waste breath on threats. They worked, they mourned, and they waited for justice with absolute certainty that it would come. 2 days later, Earth's fleet departed for Vrex space. The Confederation sent urgent messages warning of severe penalties for unauthorized military action. No one in the fleet bothered to respond. Minister Choi stood at the window of her office, watching the ships rise into the night sky. The Confederation representative stood beside her, still trying to dissuade her. "The Vrex are ancient hunters," he said. "They have fought many species." "Yes," Minister Choi replied, "but they have never fought humans." She turned to face him. They took our children. Now they will learn why the universe should shiver when humans get angry. Admiral Minsu Ryu led the counterattack. His fleet arrived at the Vrex outpost nearest to Proxima Centauri within days. Their defenses are significant, his tactical officer Sun Wu-yun reported. Then will be significant too, Ray replied, his calm voice belying the fury behind his eyes. The battle lasted 16 hours. Human soldiers fought through injuries that would incapacitate other species. The Confederation observers documented humans continuing to fight despite severe wounds, their bodies flooded with adrenaline and endorphins. When the Vrex retreated to their core systems, humanity followed. The Vrex had never faced an enemy that pursued them. Most species cowered after the first attack. They don't stop, a Vrex commander reported to his superiors. They should be exhausted, demoralized. Instead, they grow more determined. Admiral Ryu stood on the bridge of the ESS Vengeance, his eyes fixed on the main screen. The Vrex outpost hung in space before them, a twisted structure of metal and stone. Their first target. They're hailing us, said Communications Officer Gina Ba. Put them through, Ryu ordered. A Vrex appeared on screen. Tall, scaled, with a ridge of spines down its back and yellow eyes with vertical pupils. It spoke through a translator. Human vessels, this outpost is under Confederation protection. Retreat immediately or face consequences. Ryu's face showed no emotion. We have one demand. Return our children. The Vrex made a sound that might have been laughter. The hunt has already begun. They are ours now. Ryu cut the transmission. He looked at his tactical officer. All ships, commence attack. The human fleet moved in perfect formation. They had practiced this for days during the journey. The Vrex fired first, energy beams slicing through space. 2 human ships took hits but kept moving. They didn't expect us to have shields, Tactical Officer Yoon said with grim satisfaction. The Confederation had provided defensive technology after Earth joined. The first wave of human fighters broke through the Vrex defenses. Smaller and faster than the alien ships, they targeted weapon systems and engines. The Vrex responded with swarms of their own fighters. They're good, Yoon noted, watching the battle unfold. Very good. Ryu nodded. But they fight for sport. We fight for our children. The human fighters took heavy losses but kept attacking. The main fleet moved closer, bringing their larger weapons to bear. The Vrex outpost began to take damage. 6 hours into the battle, a human boarding team led by Colonel Dong Shin reached the outpost. They moved through the alien structure, fighting room by room. Sir, Colonel Shin reported to Admiral Ryu, his voice tense over the comm. We found some of the children, but most have been moved. And, sir, they've hurt them badly. A muscle twitched in Ryu's jaw. The only sign of his rage. Find their records. We need to know where the rest were taken. The fighting intensified. The Vrex, realizing these humans would not retreat, fought with increasing desperation. They had evolved as apex predators, and they were formidable fighters, strong and fast, with natural armor. But they had never faced an enemy like humans. A Confederation observation ship watched from a safe distance. The observers recorded everything, sending updates to their superiors. They noted how human soldiers continued fighting despite injuries that would stop most species. They recorded humans helping wounded comrades at great personal risk. They documented the coordination between ships, the adaptation to Vrex tactics. They should not be this effective, one observer told another. Their military technology is basic compared to the Vrex. It's not about technology, the other replied. It's about will. By the 12th hour, the tide had turned. The human forces had taken control of half the outpost. The Vrex commander called for reinforcements, but they would take hours to arrive. In a secure section of the outpost, Colonel Shin found what they needed. A data center with records of all Vrex hunting grounds. Admiral, he reported, we have locations for 6 facilities where they're holding human captives. but the nearest is in their home system. Then that's where we go next, Ryu said without hesitation. The Vrex commander, sensing defeat, ordered evacuation. Vrex ships fled the outpost, leaving many of their own behind. Should we pursue? Yun asked. No, Ryu decided. Secure the outpost first. Save any children still here. Then we follow. When the battle ended, the human forces had suffered heavy losses. 1/3 of their ships were destroyed or badly damaged. Hundreds of soldiers were dead or wounded, but they had won. The medics worked non-stop. Injured soldiers refused treatment until the children were cared for. 68 human children had been found alive in the outpost. Hundreds more were still missing. A Vrex prisoner was brought to Admiral Ryu. The alien stood tall despite its wounds, looking down at the human with contempt. You fought well, it said, but our home fleet will destroy you. No species has ever attacked the Vrex homeworld and survived. Ryu looked at the creature that had helped kidnap and torture children. His voice was ice. No species has ever taken human children before. The human fleet regrouped. Damaged ships were repaired as much as possible. The wounded who could still fight returned to duty. The rescued children were placed on the most secure vessel to be returned to human space. 3 days after taking the outpost, the fleet was ready to move again. The Confederation sent urgent messages ordering them to stop. The Vrex have agreed to negotiations, the message said. Stand down immediately. Admiral Ryu sent one reply. When all our children are home. The fleet jumped to the next Vrex system. There they found another outpost, more heavily defended. The battle there lasted only 8 hours. The humans had learned Vrex tactics. They were adapting, improving, becoming more effective with each engagement. The Vrex were shocked. They had raided countless species over centuries. Always before, their victims either surrendered or fought briefly before retreating. No one had ever followed them home. No one had ever kept fighting when the odds were so poor. They don't stop, reported a Vrex commander to the High Hunt leader on their homeworld. We've killed many. We've destroyed their ships. But they keep coming. How is this possible? The High Hunt leader demanded. Their technology is inferior. Their bodies are soft, without natural weapons. I don't know. The commander admitted. They should be exhausted. They should be demoralized by their losses. Instead, they seemed to grow more determined with each battle. The High Hunt leader felt something new, something Vrex rarely experienced. Fear. The human fleet, now joined by reinforcements from Earth, continued its advance toward the Vrex homeworld. They would not stop until every child was found. And the universe watched and learned. The Confederation Council convened an emergency session as human forces surrounded the Vrex homeworld. You must intervene, insisted the Vrex ambassador. They intend to eradicate us. Diplomat Suyang Ba represented Earth. The Vrex attacked unprovoked. They killed our children. An ancient council member leaned forward. We understand retribution, Ms. Ba, but your species' capacity for sustained vengeance exceeds all known parameters. Ba's expression hardened. We've fought ourselves for millennia. We've learned to channel our anger, not suppress it. She displayed Earth's bloody history, world wars, genocides, and the hard-won peace that followed. We don't want to destroy the Vrex, she concluded, but they must understand. Never again. The Vrex offered unconditional surrender the next day. The Great Hall of the Confederation Council glowed with soft blue light. Representatives from 200 species sat in rising tiers around a central speaking floor. Diplomat Suyang Ba stood alone in the center, facing the 7 high counselors. The Vrex ambassador, Kithlar, stood opposite her, his scales dull with stress. The eldest counselor, Zell, a being so ancient his transparent skin showed the slow movement of his 3 hearts, spoke first. This council has never seen such a situation. In 10,000 years, no member species has launched an unauthorized military campaign of this scale. Kithlar stepped forward. The humans have destroyed 17 Vrex outposts. They have killed thousands of my people. Now they surround our homeworld with weapons aimed at our cities. This is not justice. This is extinction. Bai remained calm. She had been a teacher before becoming a diplomat. She understood that some lessons were painful. When did the Vrex seek permission before attacking New Seoul, before taking our children for their hunts? The hall fell silent. Images appeared in the air around them. The devastation of New Seoul, the bodies in the streets, the recordings the Vrex themselves had made of hunting humans. The Vrex have attacked 17 species in the past century, Ba continued. Each time, the Confederation issued sanctions. Each time, the Vrex paid a small price and continued. They believed they could do the same to us. Counselor Zell's voice was troubled. Diplomat Ba, we have the records of your campaign against the Vrex. Your soldiers fight beyond normal endurance. Your ships continue despite critical damage. Your commanders refuse all calls for ceasefire until your demands are met. This pattern of behavior concerns us deeply. Bai nodded. You should be concerned. When humans unite in anger, we are formidable. We do not stop easily. Is this a threat to the council? Another counselor asked sharply. No, Ba said. It is a lesson in human nature, one the Vrex learned too late. She gestured, and new images filled the air. Earth's history unfolded before the council. Ancient battles, modern wars, weapons of terrible power, but also healing, rebuilding, forgiving. We have fought ourselves more brutally than we fight the Vrex, Ba explained. We understand violence and its costs better than any species here. We have learned to channel our anger, to use it wisely. The council chamber was completely silent now. Every representative watched and listened. You fear us because we can sustain conflict longer than other species, Ba continued. Because we do not forget our dead. Because we will cross the galaxy to save our children. These qualities make us dangerous, yes, but they also make us the most determined defenders you could ever have. Kithlar hissed in frustration. Pretty words while your fleet readies to bombard our world. Bai turned to face him directly. We have recovered 1,342 children alive from your facilities. 618 more were found dead. 187 remain missing. Tell us where they are, and this ends today. The Vrex ambassador's yellow eyes narrowed. You destroy a civilization for a few hundred cubs. A murmur of shock ran through the council at his words. Even among predator species, the deliberate targeting of young was considered abhorrent. Ba's voice turned cold. For one child, Ambassador. For one. That is what you fail to understand about humans. Each life matters to us. Each child is worth fighting for. Admiral Ryu's face appeared on a large screen, transmitted from his ship orbiting the Vrex homeworld. His uniform was worn, his face tired but determined. Council members, he said, we have disabled the Vrex fleet and defense systems without destroying their cities. We have shown restraint, but we will not leave until all our children are returned and justice is served. From another screen, Minister Choi spoke from Earth. The Confederation failed to protect us. Your rules failed to restrain the Vrex. We took action because we had no choice. The ancient counselor Zell floated down from his high seat to face Ba directly. His voice was troubled but respectful. Your species has changed the balance of power in this region of space. Many members fear what humans might do next. Ba smiled slightly. We want what we have always wanted, to explore, to learn, to grow. To live in peace with those who allow peace, but never again will anyone believe they can harm humans without consequences. The council debated for hours while the human fleet held position around the Vrex homeworld. Diplomat Ba stood firm through it all, answering questions, explaining humanity's position. She did not threaten. She did not need to. The facts spoke clearly enough. In a private chamber, the Vrex ambassador met with his government's leaders via secure communication. Their discussion was heated. We cannot win, said the High Hunt leader finally. They have only used a fraction of their forces, and they care about their young in a way we cannot understand. Surrender is dishonor, another leader hissed. Extinction is worse, the High Hunt leader replied. The next day, as the council prepared to vote on intervention, the Vrex ambassador requested to speak. The High Hunt Council of the Vrex offers unconditional surrender to humanity, he announced, his proud posture now bent. All remaining human captives will be returned immediately. We accept whatever penalties the humans and the Confederation deem appropriate. A wave of astonishment swept through the council chamber. In the history of the Confederation, the Vrex had never surrendered to anyone. Diplomat Baz's face showed no triumph, only somber satisfaction. We accept your surrender. These are our terms. You will return all captives alive and unharmed. You will pay reparations to the families of those killed or injured. You will submit to Confederation oversight of all your activities for 50 years. And you will never again hunt any sentient species. The Vrex ambassador lowered his head. Agreed. As news of the surrender spread, reactions varied across the galaxy. Some species celebrated the defeat of the feared Vrex. Others worried about the rise of humanity as a military power, but all recognized that something fundamental had changed. That night, in her private chambers, Diplomat Ba received a message from Minister Choi. The first ships with rescued children have arrived at Earth. Choi reported, her usual stern expression softened. You should see the reunions. This is why we fought. Bay nodded, finally allowing herself to feel the exhaustion of the past weeks and the missing children. The Vrex are cooperating. We should have them all within days. Choi paused. You did well, Suyang. The galaxy now understands what it means to face human justice. Let's hope they never need to learn that lesson again, Bay replied softly. 1 year later, the Galactic Confederation adopted the Human Protocol for Conflict Resolution. Geo Moon, Earth's first Confederation ambassador, signed the accord. We acknowledge our— Moon smiled. When protecting those we love, humans find reserves we didn't know we had. The phrase spread through galactic culture, becoming both warning and reassurance. The universe shivers when humans get angry, but sleeps peacefully under their watch. Ambassador Geo Moon stood at the large window of his office on the Confederation Central Station. From here, he could see ships from hundreds of worlds coming and going. 1 year ago, humans had been newcomers, barely tolerated. Now they were central to the Confederation's future. The door chimed softly. Enter, Moon called. An aide appeared. Sir, the Vrex representative is here for the scheduled meeting. Moon nodded. Send him in. The Vrex who entered was not the same ambassador from the surrender talks. This one was younger, his scales a brighter green. He bowed deeply in the human fashion. Ambassador Moon, I am Sithbar, cultural liaison for the new Vrex cooperative. Moon gestured to a chair. Please sit. How goes the reformation? Sithvar sat carefully, still not comfortable with furniture designed for bipeds. It is difficult. For 10,000 years, we were hunters. Changing that is not simple. Change never is, Moon agreed. But the reports show progress. The hunting rituals redirected to sports. The warrior training focused on defense rather than predation. Yes, Sithvar agreed. Though many elders resist, they say we have lost our honor. Moon looked at the young Vrex with sympathy. Sometimes saving your people requires sacrificing pride. Humans have learned this lesson many times. The Vrex had paid a heavy price for attacking humanity. Their military was dismantled. Their hunting grounds converted to nature preserves. Their economy, once based on conquest, now struggled to find new purpose. But they had survived, something many doubted would happen when the human fleet surrounded their homeworld. After Sithvar left, Moon received another visitor, Vox, the Confederation scientist who had first studied human emotions years ago. Ambassador, Vox greeted him, skin shifting to a friendly blue. I've come with interesting news. Good news, I hope, Moon replied, offering a chair. Very good. The Council has approved the Human Protection Initiative. 17 species have already signed up. Moon raised his eyebrows. That many? I thought some worlds were still wary of human influence. They are, Vox admitted, but they fear the Vrex and others like them more. Your people have proven to be fearsome protectors. The Human Protection Initiative was simple. Smaller, vulnerable species could request human military advisors and limited defense forces. In return, they offered trade rights and cultural exchange. It gave humanity a rapid expansion of influence without conquest. Later that day, Moon visited the new human embassy complex on the station. Unlike the temporary offices they had used before, this was a true cultural center. Earth foods, music, and art filled the public spaces. At the heart was a memorial to those lost at New Seoul. There he found Colonel Park, now General Park, speaking with a group of young officers from various species. The key to human military success isn't technology, Park was explaining. It's adaptability and determination. We keep fighting when others would stop. The alien officers listened intently, taking notes. Since the Vrex War, enrollment in human military training programs had increased tenfold. Everyone wanted to learn human combat techniques. General, Moon greeted him, creating more fearsome warriors. Park smiled, teaching them why we fight, more importantly. Not for conquest or resources, but to protect. Moon nodded. That distinction was crucial. The Confederation had feared humanity would become a new threat after defeating the Vrex. Instead, humans had become the defenders many weaker species had long needed. That evening, Moon attended a diplomatic reception. Representatives from all major Confederation species mingled in a grand hall. He noticed how the patterns had changed. Before the war, humans had been isolated at such events. Now they were sought out. A small, delicate being approached him. Ambassador Lee from Proxima Centauri, being not human, but one of the native species who had welcomed human colonists before the Vrex attack. Ambassador Moon. She greeted him with a musical voice. My people wish to thank Earth again for what you did. The Vrex attacked humans and Proximans alike. Moon replied, we fought for all of you. Lee's large eyes blinked slowly. No other species would have. The Confederation would have issued sanctions, held meetings. Meanwhile, more of us would have been taken. Only humans acted. Moon heard similar sentiments throughout the night. Species that had once feared human emotions now valued them. The very anger that had concerned the Confederation had saved many worlds from predators like the Vrex. Near the end of the reception, a young diplomat from a peaceful world approached Moon. His species had evolved from herbivores and had no natural defenses. Is it true, he asked with wide eyes, that your people fought for 14 days without rest during the Battle of Vrex Prime? Moon smiled. When protecting those we love, humans find reserves we didn't know we had. The young diplomat looked amazed. My people have always avoided conflict. We surrender rather than fight. But perhaps we should learn from humans. Learn to fight. Moon asked. Learn to stand firm for what matters, the diplomat clarified. As Moon returned to his quarters that night, he passed 2 Confederation security officers. He overheard one say to the other, better to have humans as allies than enemies. The other nodded. The universe shivers when humans get angry. Moon smiled to himself. The phrase had spread quickly through Confederation space after the war, but lately he had heard an addition. The universe shivers when humans get angry, but sleeps peacefully under their watch. In his quarters, Moon found a message waiting from Earth. It contained the latest statistics on the recovery efforts at New Seoul. The colony was rebuilding, growing again. Children played in streets that had once been battlegrounds. On his desk sat a small sculpture given to him by a child rescued from the Vrex. It showed a human hand and a Proximan hand clasped together. Below it were words in both languages. Thank you for coming for us. Moon looked out his window at the stars. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not as conquerors, not as servants, but as protectors. Their capacity for terrible anger had become their greatest strength. The universe would indeed shiver when humans were angered, but those under human protection would sleep peacefully, knowing that same fierce determination stood between them and harm. The end.